hi, hello, how are you? I'm Pia, and today I'm going to be showing you all the books that I read during February. I feel like I always tell you at the beginning of every video, like every wrap up, like how many books I read during the month, but I just really don't know. I'm never prepared. Hold on, I'll count. I should always know, Pia. Unprepared booktuber. Just get it tattooed on my forehead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books during the month of February. Not my best and not my worst. It was a good month. Did I read anything like spectacular? I read some good things. So the first book that I finished during February was One to Watch by Kate Stayman London. This is a book about a bachelorette kind of situation where we have a woman who is a plus-sized kind of influencer, and she ends up being the main squeeze, or the bachelorette, and she just kind of has to pick her guy and kind of like, I guess, end certain stigmas. And you know, it's obviously like super interesting and cool because like there haven't been, as far as I know, like bachelorettes who have been plus size, and so there was like that diversity in that. And obviously, so tread caution if you're like sensitive to like fat phobia and things like that, especially internally as well as external forces. And I liked this book, and I liked the romance, the like one that ended up prevailing, I guess. But I think my problem with these types of books, or maybe just in general, is like there are too many like guys at the beginning, or too many people at the beginning that you really don't get to know, and you know, they're not going to stay very long. And even some of the people who did stay longer, I really couldn't differentiate them, so I don't think that there was enough kind of character development there. And I think even the main character's character development was a little bit weak, a little bit forced, I would say. But I did end up giving this 3 out of 5 stars. I think it was an entertaining read, maybe more like 2.5 or 2. It was entertaining and it was fun, but I think that there are better romances out there. Then I read a young adult romance, and that is More Than Maybe by Erin Hahn. I love this book. I love this book. I read You'd Be Mine in 2019, and this was so fantastic. Shout out to this book because no one ever mentions it. I love it. Mwah. That was Erin Hahn's debut, and this is her second book, I believe. I think this is her sophomore novel, and this is about 2 people who are in love with each other and they don't know. And like, oh, isn't that the sweetest thing in the whole world? And they're also like very like music obsessed, and just music is very important to them. And I really liked that this didn't follow like the general plot of every romance I've ever read, because I do read a lot of romance. I think they're fun. It didn't like have like, you know, I'm always like waiting, I'm like, okay, and then they're gonna like get mad for no reason and then like get back together. But this kind of followed a different plot and had like other things going on. So trigger warning for kind of abandonment and alcohol abuse. There are some things of that going on kind of in the background, but I just really loved this romance. I thought the chemistry between the 2 characters was really great. I just think that Erin Hahn writes some really, really great and complex characters that seem very lifelike. And I especially really liked the side characters. We had our main character's best friend. I felt like she was really thought out. I would love to see a book from her perspective, Erin Hahn. I really thought that it was a believable and realistic story that was just so darn cute, and I love anything that has to do with like music stuff. So I really, really liked this book. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. It was super, super good. I recommend this one. And I finally finished Meg and Jo. If you've been watching my VRs, my wrap-ups, my reading vlogs, you would know that I've been reading this book forever. And not that it's a bad book at all. This is a contemporary retelling of Little Women. Once I got past the fact that it's not Little Women, I was able to enjoy it a lot more, and I think that sounds really dumb, but let me explain. So I just felt like, unless you're writing the book yourself, the characters from another book are not going to act exactly how you think that they would, because of how every person's reading experience is so different. So I kind of had to like get rid of my preconceived notions and kind of see the story as its own story. You know, obviously with like really evident like touches of Little Women and plot points and things like that, but to me the characters felt different, which is totally my opinion. It could just be how this author was interpreting the story of Little Women, but to me that they felt different. But I still was able to really enjoy this book as someone who loves Little Women, and was able to enjoy this book as a story of itself, and I really liked it. I mean, I almost wish it wasn't a retelling, like now that I think about it, just because I don't think it's like necessarily needed to be, or it could have just like, maybe it's just marketed too strongly as a Little Women retelling for me, just because it didn't really follow exactly what was happening. It kind of felt like a lot of like the things that happened in Little Women were like previous events that they were like kind of mentioning, but they were just like going on their life. Though I have not read the sequels to Little Women, so I actually don't know. But I did really like it. I liked Meg and Joe's characters, and I like to see them in this contemporary modern setting, and you know what they were doing, what they were up to, and I really did like this book. So I recommend it if you are or aren't a fan of Little Women. So I think that you would like this anyway, and there's going to be a sequel, which is exciting. And I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. This is called Pia Tries to Read a Book and Not Rate It 4 out of 5 stars. So here I have You Have a Match by Emma Lord, finally getting to a new release. Who am I? This is Emma Lord's sophomore novel. It is her I can't speak. It is her newest book, came out in January. So this is about a girl who finds out she has like this long lost sister who's like not that much older than her. Then they like meet and they're like, and she's like, follow me to this summer camp, like go to this summer camp I go to every year. The girl finds out that she's super different from this girl, and they kind of bash heads a lot, but they do, you know, come together and form like an unlikely bond as they're also trying to figure out what the hell happened. Like I think the other girl, I think the sisters are like a year apart or something weird like that, and one is adopted and one is not. It also has a really cute romance. A really cute best friends to lovers romance, which you know is my cup of tea. And I really like it. I love stories set at the summer and summer camps especially. I think that those are just some of my favorite things to read about. I just love those vibes. So I really enjoyed this book. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as Tweet Cute, because that one kind of blew my socks off. Is that an expression? Knocked my socks off. I swear I'm an English major. Anyways, but this I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was really good. Next up, I read a book called Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry. This is an ARC I got off NetGalley, so thank you NetGalley for all of your lovely support. I listened to this audiobook. I swear that was sincere. It was just me trying to get out a lot of information at once. This is an ARC. It's coming out in I want to say May, I want to say June, but I'm like not sure. It's coming out May 4th. I would pitch as a very similar story to All the Boys I've Loved Before. This is about a girl who is in her senior year, and she has made a whole lot of mistakes. She has a lot of regrets, and she keeps this like journal, right? And she keeps this journal and she writes down all her thoughts and feelings and all these secrets and all these lists, and it just like helps her relieve the stress because she's not telling anyone all these secrets she has. But one day her journal goes missing, and now it ends up in the wrong hands, and some person is blackmailing her into doing these things that she said she would never do. Yeah, like her like fuck it list. I think that's like a similar thing to like that. It's not that unique of a plot, and she's like really in love with this guy who's like her best friend, but then like this other guy who's like kind of a bad bitch starts like hanging out with her, and like, you know, I thought it was okay. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Maybe looking back more of a 2. It was entertaining and enjoyable, but it was so plain, I want to say. I felt like I'd read it a few times before. It didn't blow my socks off, which is again apparently my new saying. And then the last book I finished in February was Sorcery of Thorns. Finally, I said I'd get to this book the past 2 years, and I finally got to it. So this is by Margaret Rogerson. This is a standalone fantasy about a girl who's a librarian, and she witnesses the attack of her library, and this is not any old magical library. She has to keep protected all of these books that basically are kind of personified and get very angry and mad, and they can attack people. And so they find her after this incident, and they blame her for the death of one of the higher-ups, and she kind of goes on this adventure to try to understand who is behind all of these attacks on the libraries, stealing the grimoires, and kind of understanding magic and things like that. So this does deal with sorcery and sorcerers, and yeah, and it also features I wouldn't call it a love triangle. I've heard it called a love triangle, but I personally hate that trope in books. But there are 2 characters who are close to her, I guess. I really loved that she was like super tall, and that was like really cool, because I feel like I don't want to say every YA main character, but like, you know, like old school YA characters are always like, oh, I'm just so like thin and like homely, like, you know what I mean? But they were like, she's huge. Like, they were like, she's so tall. We also have a bi-side character, and really cute. I don't know, I like the romance. I thought it was fun. I give 4 out of 5 stars. I thought this was a really enjoyable fantasy. It takes a lot for me to pick up a fantasy, even though I really like them, but it just kind of has to sound a little bit different and a little bit more interesting for me, because so many fantasies follow the same plot. But I thought this was a really unique one, and definitely one I would check out, especially if you're a little apprehensive going into series or things like that. This is a standalone, and it's really good. Alright guys, those are all of the books that I read in February. It was a short month, so give me some credit. If you haven't already seen my March TBR, that is already up on my channel, so make sure to check that out. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys have read any of these books or just Let me know what your favorite book you read in February was. If you didn't read a book, that's okay. Anyways, that's all for this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all of the things, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!